Hello and welcome to the Ottawa Herald's 2012 General Election Candidate Interviews. I'm Bobby Burch and I'm here with Kevin Jones. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Jones. Kevin Jones is a Republican candidate seeking election to Kansas' 5th House District. And here we go. Mr. Jones, I'd like our viewers to learn a little bit more about you. Could you tell us where you're from and how you're involved in your local community?
Sure. I'm from Wellsville, Kansas. I was actually raised there. Originally, I was in Layloop, Kansas, in an old stone house. My dad had a farm, and we were there for until I was about 7 or 8, and then ended up going into the city of Wellsville. Was there throughout the remainder of high school, and then I graduated from there and went to college, Johnson County, KU, and all that. But to answer your question, how I've been involved in the community now is when I got out of the military, I came back and we chose to come back to Wellsville because it was my home, and I just have a vision for the town, vision for our state, and so I knew that being involved locally was very important. So I got involved in everything from the Booster Club, Wellsville Days, which I helped run with great people, to the school board and Franklin County Planning Commission, things just to help as much as possible. So that's how I've got involved locally, and we started just because it's something we always wanted to do, and because of the job situation right now, we started our own company, Wells Berry Farm, and we're working on it. We started a raspberry farm about the worst time with the drought and everything. So, but it's going good. We're moving forward with it, and we hope that this next year we'll have a good U-pick farm. So
great. Well, I know you mentioned work with the school board in Wellsville and with the county as well. Do you have any political experience? Or?
If you consider the school board political experience, I guess, politically, this is all new for me, man, and it's a great experience. The most political experience I have is the inspiration I got from my teacher, Mr. Rogowitz, in high school. He was my government teacher. He was a veteran, and he loves his state, he loves his nation, and that inspired me. And I kept that. As soon as I could vote, I started voting, and through the years I've just tried to gain experience in the whole political realm. But I looked up the definition on politician. I am not a politician. I don't have that. Definition of politician is like one who does it professionally, or who uses manipulation and stuff like that, and that I am not. But it doesn't stop people sometimes from slamming the door in your face and saying no more politicians. So political experience, other than being on the school board, being on the Franklin County Planning Commission, I haven't ran for anything besides the school board. So
okay. Well, what are some of the legislative priorities in your political platform?
It's a great question. One of the things that we're just dealing with as a state right now, it affects everybody, is job creation, and that people everywhere in leadership say job creation because it almost is a safe thing to say, but I see it this way, man. There's only certain things that people in an elected position can do to create jobs, and that is, you can get out of the way of people who create jobs. You can offer incentives to those people. You can offer incentives to you and to me and say, hey, or to the listener and say, hey, here's an opportunity for you to create jobs. And or you can offer it to people from out of state, and hopefully those people and companies will come into our state and create jobs. Job creation is huge right now. Personally, my wife and I, we want to grow our business to the point where we can hire local people, and so those people can use their money to get back into the economy. But that's not the only. Job creation is huge, but definitely with education, it's such a touchy issue. I mean, if it wasn't for a cash flow issue, then all these issues wouldn't be an issue. We have a cash flow issue in Kansas at all levels, and we're at a crossroads to either raise taxes or to create an economic environment where we can actually have these jobs, and then reach my vision of seeing a Kansas that is vibrant, seeing a Kansas where the reputation is, you walk into a room and say, what's the greatest state in the nation? And people argue that Kansas is the greatest state in the nation. That's my hope, and that's my dream. So.
Okay. Well, I know you mentioned a couple ways that you hope to accomplish some of those priorities. How might you work with others in Topeka to create jobs or to adequately fund education?
Those are great questions. Working with others is one of the things I enjoy doing most. I was a pastor for 8 years. I think when it comes to working with others, or just being agreeable, being bipartisan or whatever, I think that I will be able to do that well with business experience, with what I did in the military, and just being a pastor, and listening to people, and being creative, coming up with ideas, thinking outside the box, which is I know that we need people that see things new. That's one of the great things about me being in this race against an 18-year incumbent, is that I bring a fresh face and a fresh vision, and I'm excited to implement that, and to work for that. It really comes, when it comes to working in Topeka to actually accomplish job creation or to accomplish these things, what it comes down to is it comes down to influence. Nothing more, nothing less. I mean, if you aren't able to influence people for the things that are most important, and have mutual respect with them, then we're never going to move forward in doing these things. But also, with that leadership, you have to get the vision into the hearts of the people, and they have to understand that these are the issues right now, and the way I see it, the power has to be in your hands, it has to be in my hands, it has to be in the hands of the actual people to create jobs and to create a finance plan for our schools that works, so that we're not constantly battling from the schools versus the state, and the state versus the schools, or the state versus the federal government, or the local government versus the schools, or whatever it is. We need to be able to trust the different entities. There needs to be trust there, and we need to work together to accomplish those things. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, in your Herald questionnaire, you said that you'd be the best candidate to represent your district because you're not a politician, and that you don't speak Topekanese.
Topekanese, yeah.
Why might your lack of political experience be an advantage for you?
Again, in everything I've done, absolutely everything, especially as a Special Forces combat medic, sometimes just an outside view coming in is huge. You get into your work and you do it, and you think you know what's right, and then having an outside voice that comes in and says, wait a second, did you guys think of this? It happens on the school board too. Mm-hmm. And you say, did you guys think of this? And everybody sits there and goes, I didn't think of that. So that outside voice, but also because this is my home. This is where I grew up. These are the people I know, and it's what it's about. It's about still being a part of home, and then being able to take that to Topeka and say, wait a second. This is what the people need. This is what we're working for in the 5th District. This is what our problems are. Taking that and actually being able to not only articulate that, but work for that in Topeka. So,
okay. Well, if you're elected to the Kansas House, are there any committees or action groups that you hope to become a part of?
That's a great question. I've thought about this a lot, and I don't know, again, I don't speak Topekanese, but I don't know all of the different committees. Definitely, considering where we're at right now, I think family stuff would be super important. Anything military, I believe that I can help a lot with. When it comes to things that are overseas, because of my deployment, a couple deployments, because of my military background, but also, I'll be honest, anything that we can do, if I could get on appropriations or something, which I don't know how easy it is for a freshman legislator to get on those harder committees that are important to people, but if I could get on something like that, anything that's going to be able to affect right here where we sit right now is a big deal to me and a big deal to our area. And so yeah, if I could say that, I'd say something for our military, for our children and families, and for appropriations for money. So
okay. Well, much of the 2012 legislative session was defined by political gridlock and the inability for legislature to reach compromise. If elected, how would you reach compromise in Topeka?
You know, I'm finding more and more, and I'm just going to be honest, it's really amazing how even now leadership in Topeka, the people who are in the positions of leadership in Congress, as a governor, or whatever, in our actual state government, play such a big role in what we can accomplish. And so those votes are super important. I didn't even know that really before I started this whole process, how important those votes are, how important those people are in those key positions that actually bring that information before us so that we can make votes that actually count for our districts and for our state. And so that is a huge, huge deal. But also, when it comes down to it, it comes down to influence. It comes down to working with people to actually create an environment where we can move forward. And it absolutely comes to listening to the people. If the people are saying something, we have to act on those things. And the leadership that is in those positions of authority, they have to bring that stuff before the people at that time, because the sooner we get those things focused on, the better. If we don't focus, and what I'm saying is focus on the hard issues. If you don't focus on the hard issues, we're never going to move even a little bit closer to figuring those things out for our state. And if we want to have Kansas be a model for our nation, then what we have to have is we have to have a focus on actually accomplishing those things. So.
Okay. Well, the legislature's research group has predicted that Kansas' new budget, new tax plan, will result in a several billion-dollar shortfall by 2018, while supporters claim that it will help the state grow economically and create jobs. What do you think of the new Kansas tax plan?
That's a great question also, and this is super pertinent for right now. This is one of the basest of the attack ads that are put out on me and stuff, which is all new to me and my family, especially my wife. My wife, who I mean, when you get attacked, it's one of those things that's very, especially when it's your character, it's very tough. That being said, this tax issue, again, it comes back to cash flow. When I got out of the military, I came back to Kansas. At the federal level, we're dealing with cash flow issue. At the state level, we're dealing with cash flow issue. At local levels, we're dealing with cash flow issue. The reason for that is because the people in the positions of authority prior to now, in the last few years, they leveraged us, or I guess you could say they lived on paycheck to paycheck. You know, in my current family budget, well, you can't live paycheck to paycheck. You have to plan for those times that something might come up, whether it's a slush fund or cash savings or something, so that if something comes up, you're able to do that. Our society has gotten to the point now that we rely so much on credit cards for our safety that what happens is when economic recession happens or something that we can't, we're not able to actually meet the commitments we've already made, and so that's where we find ourselves as a state, and that's a scary place to be. Now there are states that have implemented tax things like this, not necessarily the exact thing. My understanding is that as it's gone through the legislature and the Senate, it kind of got messed up in its implementation, and so that there could be ways to tweak it so that it'll implement and not have a huge deficit or anything. So it's not as scary, but that again goes back to your question on kind of the fighting that was happening and getting nothing done. And so but to answer your question, I would actually support the tax plan. I think that it can work. You know what I mean? If you don't if you don't do anything, then and just sit there and go, oh, this will never work, this will never work, we need to raise taxes, that doesn't leave the power in yours and my hands to actually accomplish something for our state. That takes away our opportunity and says, okay, we'll trust you, government. And honestly, government is what's got us into this situation. And if they fight and bicker and don't get anything done, then our state doesn't get any better. It doesn't get any closer to accomplishing the vision that I have for Kansas and what I long for my neighbors and for my community and for the people watching this. I desire for our state to actually be the leader in the nation when it comes to this. And I believe that if we, the people, get that vision into our hearts, as the tax plan begins to implement and people begin to see money in their hands and they go, what am I going to do with this? They spend it at local businesses. They go down to Ramsey Printing, or they go downtown to have a coffee or some pizza, whatever it is, and they spend that money at local businesses. Or they even start a business of their own. I've struggled with Kansas being a place that is where you have the American dream, and I want it to be a place where you can have the American dream, where we can actually accomplish the dream that is before us to start our small businesses and to do those things. So.
Okay. Well, another budget-related question. The Kansas Economic Progress Council recently released a report claiming that the new tax plan will result in $9 million in budget cuts to public schools and higher education. If that cut in education does occur, how would you react in legislature?
That's a great question too. I was talking about attack ads earlier, and that's been the greatest argument against me, which is so funny since I haven't been a politician. I haven't done anything, but obviously because of answers I answered once upon a time, everybody believes that I'm against education. And lo and behold, when you see my interview or you talk to me, you find out that's one of the passions of my heart is education. I believe in a premium lifelong education, K through where we're at right now, and then some. I don't think you should ever stop learning. And so my heart for education is lifelong. It's not just at a K through 12 level, but because I sit on the school board, and that is a passionate place for us right now. It is, because it's such a huge part of the state budget. It is again a place where there's been cuts, especially in our base rate. The greatest cuts were made in the Parkinson time now, and now we have Sam Brown back as our governor, and he's made cuts in that area. Sitting on the school board, obviously, it's very difficult for a school board to trust a state that is taking money away from you and away from your teachers and away from your children. Yet then we're expected to be able to move forward with less teachers, or what do we do? So it's forcing the lower levels to actually have to be creative and make really, really tough issues, which we've had to make too. There is the only way I can see out of this, honestly, because of what has happened in the past and the cuts that have been made and the leadership in the past and where economy is now. The only way is to do one of two things. You either raise your taxes and fix that actual thing just by raising your taxes, or you raise your economy. And so the current leadership is trying to raise the economy, which is scary. But it would answer the question of, because if we had plenty of cash, this isn't an issue. We've said this on the school board many times. It's not an issue. One of the things I would love to do is begin to pay off our bonds. In my current budget, my home budget, and I'm sorry to keep going, in my home budget, our major priority over the past 5 years is pay off our debt. We've done a lot of that. We paid for our house cash, but we still have a mortgage. Well, I personally consider that debt until I get that paid, because I'm going to pay over time. If I pay that for 30 years, I'll pay exponentially more than what I would have paid if I just pay cash. So that being said, we were with that house. We're living outside our means. We have to pay that off to be able to accomplish what we need to accomplish. And so that being said, I feel like if we can develop our economy, that we can meet all those needs. And so it's a scary place to be. But right now, it's just requiring so much from our school boards, and it's not fair to the school boards to have to fight the state for money. It's just not.
Okay. Well, what are some of your thoughts on Kansas infrastructure and specifically roads? Do you believe we need to further advance plans or maintain a conservative approach in terms of state infrastructure?
Infrastructure is huge, man. You know, this is one of those things that I've had people drive through. I've had people drive through Wellsville and say, "Wellsville, the greatest community in Kansas, worst roads in Kansas." And obviously, that's a local issue, and I do not believe that Wellsville has the worst roads. But infrastructure is huge. And if we leave those things like roads and bridges and whatnot to the side, then in 20 years. Those guys are dealing with those things. So it's a very important issue. It's very important to economic development. It's very important in an area where things are so much rural for people to actually get from one place to another. It helps everybody when it happens. So, and again, when it comes down to those different projects, when it comes to infrastructure, again, our government has brought us to the place where we over leveraged, and so we don't have the money to be able to do all that we want to do. But if we leave those things behind, then we're going to find ourselves even worse off. You know, so we have to maintain the blessings that we already have.
Okay. Well, what are some of the main differences that you see between you and your opponent?
Main differences, besides he was a basketball player and I was a wrestler, is that more than anything else, my opponent will raise taxes. He's done it in his back in all of his 18 years, which he has served honorably. He's a good man. We've talked. He's a good man, but he is willing to do those things that I am not. He would fall on the side of larger government, stronger government. If I personally believe that the more responsibility that I take on myself, the more you take on yourself, the better it is for not just our state or local government, but for our country. It's something that is very important. And a strong central government, or I should say an oversized government, if you will, is just not what we need. It will not fix anything. And besides that, my opponent has never worked to fix a broken budget. He would always vote against that, and that's just not how it is. With our current environment, I mean, he hasn't voted on a budget since 2006, or voted. I'm sorry, he hasn't voted yes on a budget since. We're just not getting anywhere with that. But also Second Amendment rights. I mean, he's consistently voted against Second Amendment rights. I'm endorsed by the NRA, and that's one of the things I'm passionate about. Having carried my security in Iraq, I personally can talk to those things and how important it is for us to be able to have the right to bear arms and protect our families and protect ourselves. So, and when it comes down, I mean, if you look at all the different things, like essentially we are he would be more setting on strong government, and I would be on more limited government, and that's in lower taxes. He would be on raising taxes. So.
That concludes our interview with Kevin Jones, and I appreciate you coming in, Mr.
Absolutely.
Jones. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.